Most people spend their entire lives searching for answers outside themselves. They look for wisdom in books, in teachers, in the experiences of others, hoping to find a path that will lead them to clarity. But the truth is, the answers they seek have always been within them. The voice of God is not a loud, commanding force from the sky. It is a subtle, ever-present whisper within the mind. The reason most people do not hear it is not because God is silent, but because their own minds are too loud. They are filled with distractions, with fears, with endless mental noise that drowns out the stillness required to hear divine guidance. If you want to hear God, the first step is not to search outward, but to quiet what is within. A turbulent mind cannot reflect truth, just as a stormy ocean cannot show a clear reflection of the sky. Many people mistake the voice of their fears for the voice of God. When they feel doubt, anxiety, or hesitation, they assume it is a warning from a higher power. But God does not speak in fear. His voice is not one of confusion or panic. Instead, divine guidance comes as a deep sense of knowing, a peaceful certainty that is beyond logic or reason. This is why it is so important to cultivate stillness in the mind. If your thoughts are always racing, if you are constantly reacting to the world around you, you will struggle to recognize the difference between fear and truth. The first key to hearing God clearly is learning to quiet your own internal chaos. Silence is not the absence of sound, it is the presence of clarity. When you remove distractions, when you sit in stillness, the truth becomes obvious. One of the greatest obstacles to hearing divine guidance is the tendency to live in the past or the future. Most people are either consumed by regrets over what has already happened, or by anxieties about what might come next. But God does not speak in the past, nor does he speak in the future. He speaks in the present moment. The more you train yourself to be fully here now, the more clearly you will recognize the voice that has been guiding you all along. This is why mindfulness is so powerful. When you bring your awareness to this moment, this breath, this experience, you create the space for divine wisdom to emerge. The mind that is caught in constant thinking, constant analyzing, constant planning, cannot receive guidance. It is like trying to hear a soft melody while standing in the middle of a roaring crowd. If you want to hear God, start by reducing the unnecessary noise in your life. Look at how much of your day is spent consuming information. News, social media, conversations that add no real value to your life. Most people fill their minds with so much external input that there is no room for divine insight. Every thought you entertain, every piece of information you absorb, either brings you closer to truth or pulls you further into distraction. If your mind is always occupied with trivial matters, how can you expect to hear the voice of the eternal? Learning to create mental space is crucial. Spend time in silence, away from distractions. Let your mind settle, like a pond becoming still after the ripples fade. In that stillness, you will begin to hear what has always been there. Another way to recognize God's voice is through intuition. Most people experience moments of deep knowing, when they feel something is right or wrong without being able to explain why. This is not random. It is divine guidance working through them. But instead of trusting these moments, they doubt them. They override their intuition with logic, with external opinions, with second-guessing. Over time, this weakens their ability to hear. If you ignore the whispers of your soul long enough, eventually they become faint. But intuition is like a muscle. The more you listen to it, the stronger it becomes. God does not always speak in words. Sometimes he speaks through a feeling, a knowing, a sudden realization that comes from deep within. Trust it. One of the reasons people struggle to hear God is because they expect the answer to come in a specific way. They want a loud, undeniable sign. They want clarity delivered in a dramatic moment. But divine guidance does not always come in grand gestures. Often it comes in the smallest ways. a gentle nudge, a recurring thought, a moment of unexpected peace in the middle of chaos. The more you become attuned to these subtle signs, the more clearly you will recognize them. God's voice is not distant. It is woven into the very fabric of your consciousness. But if you are too busy looking for something extraordinary, you will miss the truth that is already here. It is also important to recognize that God speaks to everyone differently. Some people receive guidance through dreams, some through sudden insights, some through repeated patterns in their lives. There is no single way that divine communication happens. The key is to understand how it happens for you. Pay attention to the moments when you feel the most connected, the most clear, the most certain. That is when you are aligned with divine wisdom. Do not compare your experience to others. Just because someone else hears God in one way, does not mean you must hear him the same way. Be open to the unique way he communicates with you. The greatest mistake people make is thinking they are separate from God. They imagine him as something outside of themselves, far away, unreachable. But God is not separate from you. His voice is not something you must chase. It is something you must uncover. The barriers that prevent you from hearing are not external, they are internal. Doubt, fear, overthinking, these are the walls that block the sound of truth. The more you let go of these barriers, the more effortlessly divine wisdom flows into your awareness. If you truly want to hear God, approach life with an open heart and an open mind. Do not be rigid in your expectations. Do not insist on how things should be. The more you surrender to the present moment, the more you will see that divine guidance is always here. It is not about asking God to speak. It is about removing the distractions that prevent you from hearing. When the mind becomes silent, the truth becomes loud. When the heart is open, the guidance is clear. You do not have to struggle to hear God. You only have to learn how to listen. Most people seek divine guidance as if it is something hidden, something they must earn through effort or struggle. But the truth is, God is always speaking. He does not withhold wisdom, nor does he make it difficult to access. The problem is not that God is silent. The problem is that most people are too distracted to listen. They are caught up in their fears, their desires, their endless need for external validation. They believe that divine guidance must come in the form of loud, unmistakable signs. Yet they fail to see that it is often found in the smallest whispers of intuition. If you want to hear God clearly, the first step is to shift your awareness from the outside world to the stillness within. The more you rely on external noise, the more distant the divine voice will seem. But if you begin to listen inward, you will realize that guidance is always present, waiting for you to notice. Awareness is the key to unlocking divine wisdom. It is not about thinking more, analyzing more, or seeking more. It is about seeing clearly, without the distortions of fear, doubt, or expectation. Most people only look for God when they are in need, when they are lost, broken, or desperate for answers. But God does not only speak in times of crisis. He speaks in every moment, in every breath, in every experience. The question is not whether he is speaking, but whether you are paying attention. If you are constantly distracted, consumed by thoughts of the past and future, you will miss the divine messages that are unfolding right in front of you. True awareness is the ability to see beyond the surface of life, to recognize the sacred in the ordinary, the profound in the simple. When you cultivate awareness, you begin to notice that divine guidance does not always come in the form of words. Sometimes it comes through synchronicities, meaningful coincidences that seem too perfect to be random. A person you need to meet appears at just the right moment. A door closes, not to punish you, but to redirect you to a greater path. An idea suddenly comes to mind, solving a problem that had seemed impossible. These are not accidents. They are whispers from the universe, guiding you in ways that are beyond human logic. But if you are too busy chasing after distractions, if you are too focused on forcing your own plans, you will overlook the perfection of divine timing. The more present you become, the more clearly you will recognize these signs for what they truly are. One of the greatest obstacles to hearing divine guidance is the habit of overthinking. Most people believe that the more they analyze, the closer they will get to truth. But the reality is the opposite. Overthinking creates confusion, not clarity. It drowns out the stillness in which divine wisdom arises. If you are always caught in mental noise, always trying to figure everything out on your own, you leave no space for higher guidance to flow. God's voice is not found in endless mental analysis. It is found in the quiet knowing that emerges when the mind is still. This is why meditation, prayer, and moments of silence are so powerful. They are not just spiritual practices. They are tools that allow you to step beyond the chaos of your own thoughts and enter the space where divine wisdom already exists. Most people do not trust their intuition because they have been conditioned to believe that logic is superior. They have been taught that if something cannot be explained, it must not be real. But intuition is not irrational. It is beyond rationality. It is a deeper intelligence, one that does not rely on past experiences or learned knowledge. It is the voice of divine truth speaking through you. When you receive an intuitive nudge, a deep inner knowing, do you trust it or do you second-guess it? Most people receive divine guidance and then immediately allow their fears and doubts to talk them out of it. They dismiss their own inner wisdom because it does not fit within their logical understanding. But divine guidance is not meant to fit within the limitations of the human mind. It comes from a higher place, one that sees beyond what you can see. When you begin to trust your intuition, you align yourself with divine flow. You stop resisting life, stop trying to control every outcome, and start allowing things to unfold as they are meant to. This does not mean that you do nothing. It means that your actions come from a place of deeper knowing rather than fear-driven control. When you trust divine guidance, you move with confidence, not hesitation. You understand that what is meant for you will come, and what is not meant for you will pass. This is the difference between living in fear and living in faith. When you let go of doubt, you create space for miracles to unfold. Another way God speaks is through the people around you. Sometimes divine wisdom is delivered through a friend, a stranger, a book, or even a passing conversation. Have you ever heard words that felt as if they were meant specifically for you, as if the universe itself was speaking directly to your situation? This is not coincidence. Divine messages can come through any channel, but you must be open to receiving them. If you are too caught up in your own thoughts, too distracted by your own worries, you will miss the messages that are being sent your way. Pay attention. Listen deeply. Sometimes, the answer you have been searching for is already being spoken, but you have not yet learned how to hear it. Divine guidance also comes through stillness. In the modern world, stillness is rare. People are always rushing, always busy, always filling every moment with activity. But God's voice is not found in noise, it is found in silence. If you cannot sit with yourself, if you cannot embrace moments of quiet reflection, you will struggle to hear divine wisdom. The mind that is always occupied with external distractions leaves no room for internal clarity. If you truly want to hear God, create space for stillness in your life. It does not have to be complicated. A few minutes of silence each day, a walk in nature, a moment of deep breathing. These small acts create the space where divine wisdom can enter. The more you cultivate awareness, the more you begin to see that divine guidance is everywhere. It is in the patterns of your life, in the doors that open and close, in the quiet whispers of your soul. But you must train yourself to recognize it. You must learn to see beyond the distractions, beyond the fears, beyond the limitations you have placed on yourself. When you do, you will realize that God has been speaking to you all along. He is not distant, not separate, not hidden. His voice is already within you, waiting for you to listen. Most people assume that hearing God requires special abilities, as if divine communication is reserved for a chosen few. But the truth is, everyone has access to this guidance. It is not a question of whether God speaks, but whether you are in the right state to receive. The mind is like a radio. If it is not tuned to the right frequency, it will pick up only noise. Many people struggle because their minds are cluttered with unnecessary thoughts, worries, and external distraction. They expect divine guidance to come through dramatic signs, but they miss the quiet, subtle whispers that are constantly present. The ability to hear God is not about asking for more signs. It is about creating the inner stillness that allows you to recognize what has already been given. The clearer your mind, the stronger your connection to divine wisdom. One of the greatest mistakes people make is assuming that divine guidance must always make sense immediately. But the wisdom of God operates beyond human logic. Sometimes the path He leads you on will not align with your expectations. Sometimes the answer you receive will not match what you hoped for. This is why trust is essential. If you only follow divine guidance when it aligns with your desires, then you are not truly listening. You are only listening for validation of your own plans. True surrender means being open to guidance, even when it challenges you, even when it takes you in unexpected directions. Often, what seems like a detour is actually the most direct path to where you are meant to be. But if you resist, if you insist on controlling every outcome, you will miss the greater plan unfolding in your life. Many people ignore divine guidance because it does not come in the way they expect. They look for visions, for dramatic signs, for unmistakable miracles. But God does not only speak in extraordinary moments. He speaks through the everyday experiences of your life. The right words from a stranger, a sudden realization, a door closing unexpectedly, a repeated message appearing in different ways. These are not coincidences. They are guidance in disguise. But if you are always waiting for something dramatic, you will miss the sacred simplicity of how God communicates. The more attuned you become to the present moment, the more you will see that divine wisdom is always at work, guiding you gently, persistently, patiently. It does not need to be loud, because truth does not shout. It simply is. Another reason people struggle to hear God is that they are unwilling to let go of what no longer serves them. Sometimes divine guidance comes not as an instruction to move forward, but as a call to release. You may be holding onto a relationship, a job, or a belief that is keeping you stuck. And yet you ask for guidance while refusing to let go of what is blocking the next step. God will not force you to release what is not meant for you, but He will show you again and again that clinging to it will only create suffering. If you want to hear clearly, you must be willing to let go. You must be open to the possibility that what you are resisting is actually the answer you have been seeking. Letting go is not losing. It is making space for something greater. Divine wisdom often comes in the form of inner peace. When you are aligned with the right path, there is a deep sense of ease, even if the journey is difficult. When you are resisting divine guidance, there is tension, anxiety, and inner conflict. Pay attention to how your soul feels when making decisions. Fear and doubt are normal, but if something continually drains your energy, if it fills you with dread rather than quiet certainty, it may not be the right path. The presence of peace is one of the clearest indicators of divine truth. This is not the peace that comes from avoiding difficulty, but the peace that arises from knowing you are exactly where you are meant to be. When you learn to recognize this, decision-making becomes effortless, because you are no longer relying solely on the mind. You are listening to something far deeper. One of the most profound ways God speaks is through love. Love is not just an emotion, it is a state of being, a direct connection to the divine. When you operate from love, when you act with kindness, compassion, and selflessness, you align yourself with the highest wisdom. But when you operate from fear, from anger, from resentment, you create a barrier between yourself and divine guidance. Many people wonder why they cannot hear God. Yet they carry bitterness in their hearts. They hold on to past hurts. They judge others. They refuse to forgive. But divine wisdom cannot enter a heart that is closed. If you want to hear clearly, begin with love. Open your heart, not just to those who are easy to love, but to everyone. When you remove the walls around your heart, you remove the walls between you and divine truth. Hearing God is not about developing a special ability. It is about removing what prevents you from listening. It is about quieting the noise, letting go of resistance, trusting the unknown, and aligning with love. The guidance you seek is already within you. It is not something you need to chase. It is something you need to allow. The more you surrender to the present moment, the more you will see that divine communication is not rare, not distant, not separate. It is constant, immediate, and always available. You do not need to struggle to hear it. You only need to become still enough to listen. One of the most profound ways God speaks is through your own conscience. That inner knowing, that quiet whisper urging you toward what is right, is not random. It is not just a product of your thoughts. It is divine wisdom flowing through you. But many people ignore this voice because it does not always tell them what they want to hear. It does not always align with their desires, their plans, or their expectations, and so they drown it out with distractions, with rationalizations, with excuses. But ignoring divine wisdom does not make it disappear. It only makes life more difficult, filled with unnecessary struggles. The more you listen to your conscience, the more clearly you will hear God. The more you act in alignment with truth, the more peace you will experience. Divine wisdom is always guiding you. It is up to you whether you follow or resist. Fear is one of the greatest obstacles to hearing divine guidance. When the mind is clouded by fear, it distorts perception, making it difficult to recognize the truth. Fear creates doubt, confusion, and hesitation, making you question the guidance you receive. But fear is not an indication that something is wrong. It is simply a reaction to the unknown. Many people mistake fear for a sign that they should stop, that they should retreat. But the presence of fear often means you are standing at the edge of transformation. It is the threshold between where you are and where you are meant to be. If you allow fear to control you, you will remain stuck, unable to step into the life that is waiting for you. But if you recognize fear for what it is, just a passing cloud in the sky of your awareness, you will see that it has no real power over you.